The email arrived during my lunch break at the Department of Housing and Urban Development headquarters in Washington, D.C. Subject line: "Congratulations on your home sale." I stared at my phone in confusion. I hadn't sold my house. The 3-bedroom craftsman in Portland that I'd purchased 5 years ago wasn't even on the market. I opened the email. It was from a real estate auction company, confirming the sale of my property at 2847 Maple Grove Drive for $800,000. Closing date in 30 days. Buyer already approved for financing. Seller, listed as my brother Trevor Morrison, acting as power of attorney. My hands went cold. I called the auction company immediately. "This is Megan Morrison. I just received an email about the sale of my property, and I never authorized this." "One moment, please." The agent put me on hold. When she returned, her voice was apologetic but firm. "Ms. Morrison, our records show your brother Trevor Morrison listed the property on your behalf. He provided power of attorney documentation and explained you were overseas for work and needed to liquidate assets for a family emergency." "I don't have a family emergency," I said, my voice deadly calm. "And I never gave my brother power of attorney." "Oh." A long pause. "We'll need to put a hold on this sale immediately. Can you come to our office?" "I'm in Washington, D.C., I said. "But I'll be there tomorrow. Don't let anyone access those funds." After I hung up, I called Trevor. He answered on the third ring, sounding cheerful. "Hey sis. I was just about to call you." "Were you?" I said flatly. "Yeah. Great news, I found a buyer for your house. Got $800,000 for it. Way more than you paid, right? See, I'm looking out for you." "Trevor, that's my house." "I know, but you barely use it. You're always in D.C. doing whatever it is you do for the government. The house just sits there empty. Meanwhile, Stephanie and I are drowning in medical bills from her surgery. The kids need braces and Dad's care facility costs are killing Mom." I closed my eyes. "So you decided to sell my house?" "For the family," he said, as if that justified everything. "We need this money, Meg. You have your government job and your fancy D.C. apartment. You don't need a house in Portland sitting empty." "How did you list my house?" I asked quietly. "I forged power of attorney documents," he said, not even trying to hide it. I watched some YouTube videos. It wasn't that hard. The auction company barely checked. And honestly, you should be thanking me. This solves everyone's problems. Everyone except me. Don't be dramatic. We'll give you $100,000 from the sale. That's fair, right? You paid like $400,000 for it 5 years ago, so you're making money. The rest goes to family expenses. Stephanie's surgery alone was $80,000 after insurance. "Trevor, you can't sell my house." "Already did," he said smugly. "Deposit's been paid. I've already used $50,000 to catch up on bills. Closing is in 30 days, then the family emergency is solved." "You're welcome." He hung up. I sat in my office at HUD headquarters looking out at the Washington Monument. I'd worked for housing and urban development for 7 years, starting as a housing policy analyst and working my way up to my current position, Federal Property Administrator for the Pacific Northwest region. I managed government housing assets, foreclosures, and property seizures. I coordinated with federal marshals, banks, and legal teams. I had the authority to freeze properties, order evictions, and seize assets for federal housing violations. And my brother had just fraudulently sold my house. I opened my secure laptop and accessed the federal property database. Within minutes, I'd flagged my Portland address as under federal investigation for fraudulent property transfer. I filed an emergency motion to freeze all sale proceedings. Then I called my supervisor, Director Patricia Hayes. "Trevor forged power of attorney to sell your house?" she repeated after I explained. "That's wire fraud, forgery, and about 6 other federal crimes." "I know," I said. "I'm taking tomorrow off to handle it." "Take the rest of the week," she said immediately. "And Megan, use every resource we have. This is exactly the kind of fraud we're supposed to prosecute." I booked a flight to Portland that evening. The auction company's office was in downtown Portland, a sleek space with glass walls and expensive furniture. I arrived at 9 a.m. sharp, wearing my federal credentials on a lanyard and carrying a briefcase full of documentation. The agent who'd handled the sale, a woman named Karen Chin, went pale when she saw my HUD identification. "Miss Morrison, I'm so sorry. We had no idea the documentation was forged. Your brother was very convincing." "Show me everything," I said. She pulled up the file. Trevor had created surprisingly sophisticated fake documents. Power of attorney forms, a notarized letter claiming I was working overseas, even a forged signature that looked almost like mine. He'd claimed I needed to sell quickly for family medical emergencies, and had priced the house to move fast. "He already received the $50,000 deposit," Karen said nervously. "The buyer paid it directly to the bank account your brother provided." "My brother's bank account," I corrected. "We didn't verify that," she admitted, looking sick. "We should have. We will from now on. Ms. Morrison, please don't sue us." "That depends," I said, "on how cooperative you are with the federal investigation I'm opening." I spent the morning documenting everything, photographing documents, recording details. By noon, I had enough evidence to bury Trevor in federal charges for the next decade. Then I drove to my house. I'd bought the Craftsman 5 years ago for $425,000, right after my promotion to senior housing analyst. It was my retreat, my investment, my plan for eventual retirement. I'd furnished it carefully, maintained it meticulously, and visited whenever work allowed. It wasn't empty, it was mine. I found Trevor's car in my driveway. Inside, I found Trevor, his wife Stephanie, and my mother sorting through my belongings. Boxes everywhere. My furniture tagged with colored stickers. My personal items being packed away. "What are you doing?" I asked from the doorway. Trevor spun around, startled. "Meg, what are you doing here?" "In my house." I asked coolly. "I live here." "You work in D.C., Stephanie said, as if that explained everything. "Trevor said you'd understand. We're preparing the house for the new owners." "There are no new owners. The sale is final," Trevor said confidently. "Closing in 30 days. We're just getting ahead of it. Actually, we were thinking we might stay here until closing. Save on rent for a month." I looked at my mother, who couldn't meet my eyes. "Mom, you knew about this?" "Trevor said you'd agreed," she said weakly. "He said it was your idea to help the family." "He lied." "Don't be dramatic," Trevor snapped. "We need this money. Dad's care facility costs $8,000 a month. Stephanie's surgery wiped out our savings. The kids need things. You have a government job, you're fine." "I'm fine because I worked for it," I said quietly. "I put myself through graduate school. I built my career. I saved and invested and bought this house with my own money. And now family needs that money," Stephanie said, as if I was being unreasonable. "That's what family does. They help." I pulled out my phone and opened the Federal Credentials app one used for work. "Let me show you something." I pulled up my HUD profile. My title, my department, my authorization level. Then I pulled up the federal investigation I'd opened that morning. "This is a federal case number," I explained, showing them my screen. "Opened this morning. Case type: fraudulent property transfer, wire fraud, forgery, identity theft. Suspect: Trevor Morrison. Status: active investigation." Trevor's face went from confident to confused to terrified in seconds. "What are you talking about?" Stephanie demanded. "Your husband forged power of attorney documents to sell my house without my permission," I said. "That's multiple federal felonies. The $50,000 deposit he received and spent? That's proceeds from wire fraud. The fake documents he created? Forgery and identity theft. The auction company is cooperating with federal investigators as we speak." "You can't do this," Trevor said, his voice rising. "I'm your brother." "You stole my house," I replied calmly. "And because you did it through an auction company that operates across state lines, you didn't just break state law. You committed federal crimes. Crimes that fall under the jurisdiction of the Department of Housing and Urban Development, where I happen to work as a federal property administrator." My mother sank into my sofa. "Trevor, what did you do?" "What I had to," he shouted. "We're drowning in debt. Meg has money and property and a government pension. We have nothing." "You have a sales job that pays $75,000 a year," I said. "Stephanie's a teacher making $60,000. You're not poor, Trevor. You're just bad with money." "Stephanie's surgery was covered by insurance," I interrupted. I checked. Your out-of-pocket maximum was $8,000. Expensive but not devastating. The rest of your debt is from the boat you bought 2 years ago, the timeshare in Mexico, the new cars you can't afford, and your gambling problem that Mom won't talk about. Stephanie turned to Trevor. Gambling problem? It's under control, he muttered. It's $40,000 in casino debt, I said. I pulled your credit report this morning. Federal property administrators have access to that information when investigating fraud. Want to guess how I know you plan to use my house money to pay off your gambling debts? The silence was damning. You went through my finances? Trevor asked, outraged. You tried to steal my house, I countered. Yes, I investigated. That's my job. And I found that your family emergency is a fiction. Stephanie's surgery is paid for. Dad's care facility is expensive but covered by his veterans benefits and Mom's pension. The kids' braces are standard orthodontic care. Your real emergency is that you gambled away your savings and needed my house to cover your debts. Megan, please, Mom said. He's your brother. Can't you just let this go? Let it go. I repeated. He committed federal fraud. He forged documents. He sold my house without permission and spent money that wasn't his. And you want me to let it go? Family forgives, she said desperately. Family doesn't steal from each other, I replied. Trevor tried a different approach. Okay, I messed up. I'll cancel the sale. We'll give back the money. You spent it, I pointed out. And even if you could return it, that doesn't erase the federal crimes. The auction company has already reported the fraud. The buyer is threatening to sue. The bank flagged the suspicious deposit. This isn't just between us anymore. What happens now? Stephanie asked, her voice small. I pulled out additional documents from my briefcase. Now, federal marshals execute a property seizure order to ensure this house isn't further tampered with. Now the FBI investigates the wire fraud. Now you hire a very good lawyer because the Department of Justice prosecutes cases like this with a 95% conviction rate. You'd send your own brother to prison? Mom asked, horrified. He tried to steal my house, I said simply. Actions have consequences. Trevor's phone rang. He looked at it and went even paler. It's the auction company. They're demanding the deposit back. They're threatening to sue me for fraud. They should, I said. You defrauded them too. Megan, please. Trevor was begging now. I'll do anything. I'll pay you back somehow. You'll face the consequences of your choices, I interrupted. For once in your life, Trevor, you'll actually experience what happens when you take shortcuts and assume you can charm your way out. My mother stood. I didn't raise you to be this cruel. You raised me to let Trevor get away with everything, I corrected. When he crashed your car at 16, I was blamed for not watching him. When he stole from your purse, you said I should have warned you he needed money. When he flunked out of his first college, you paid for a second one while telling me to take out loans. You taught me that Trevor's mistakes were everyone's responsibility except his own. He's family, she whispered. So am I said. But you never protected me the way you protected him. So I learned to protect myself. The next morning, federal marshals arrived to secure my property. The auction company canceled the sale and issued a full fraud report. The buyer filed a lawsuit against Trevor for time and financial losses. The bank froze Trevor's accounts pending investigation. I filed a formal complaint with the Department of Justice. Within a week, Trevor was charged with wire fraud, forgery, and identity theft. His lawyer told him he was looking at 5 to 10 years in federal prison if convicted. Trevor called me crying, begging me to drop the charges. I explained that I couldn't. Federal prosecutors don't drop cases because families reconcile. He'd committed crimes against federal property systems, and the government doesn't forgive that. Stephanie filed for divorce after discovering the full extent of Trevor's gambling debts. She moved in with her parents and started rebuilding her life without him. My mother stopped speaking to me, telling relatives I'd chosen property over family. Several aunts and uncles called to lecture me about forgiveness. I blocked their numbers. My father, from his care facility, sent me a letter. Your mother is upset, but I'm proud of you. Trevor needed to face consequences years ago. We failed him by never providing them. Thank you for being stronger than we were. I framed the letter. 3 months later, Trevor accepted a plea deal. 3 years in federal prison, 5 years probation, and restitution of $50,000 plus damages. He'd serve at a minimum security facility and be eligible for early release with good behavior. At his sentencing, he finally apologized. Not the manipulative "sorry I got caught" apology, but actual remorse. "I convinced myself I was helping family," he said. "But I was just stealing from my sister to cover my own mistakes. I'm sorry, Megan." I nodded acknowledgement but said nothing. Some apologies come too late to repair what was broken. I returned to DC and my work at HUD. My supervisor commended me for handling the situation professionally and by the book. I received a promotion 6 months later. Regional Director of Property Administration. My house in Portland remains mine. I changed the locks, installed a security system, and updated all property records to include federal authentication requirements. No one will forge documents on my property again. I visit occasionally, spending long weekends in the home I almost lost. It's quiet there. Peaceful. Trevor writes from prison sometimes. Short letters about what he's learning, how he's changed, what he wishes he'd done differently. I read them but don't respond. Maybe someday. Maybe not. My mother eventually reached out, asking if we could move past this. I told her we could have a relationship when she acknowledged that what Trevor did was theft, not a family misunderstanding. She hasn't called back. Some family members chose sides. I lost some. I gained peace. The house stands at 2847 Maple Grove Drive, worth about $950,000 now. Practiced. A testament to boundaries held and consequences delivered. Trevor tried to auction my house for a family emergency that didn't exist. He learned that some people can't be stolen from, some crimes have federal consequences, and some sisters know exactly how to use the system to protect what's theirs. The property seizure team did arrive. But they came to protect my house, not take it. And Trevor learned that when you steal from a federal property administrator, you don't just lose the house. You lose everything.